When I was 14 years old, my best friend and I found something inside an old abandoned house. Something we were never ever supposed to see. And sometimes, even now, when I close my eyes, I can still see it looking back at me from that window. I grew up in California, in a part of town you didn't really walk around at night unless you absolutely had to. You know the kind of place. Sirens, people shouting, gang signs spray painted on every other wall. That was just background noise to us. It was normal. My best friend, Stevie D, lived 2 doors down from me. We were completely inseparable. We spent every waking moment together, riding our bikes, playing video games, and going on these late-night adventures. That was our thing. One summer night, we got this brilliant idea to finally check out the old abandoned house at the end of the block. Everyone in the neighborhood knew about it. It was this local legend. No one had lived there for years, maybe decades. The windows were cracked and boarded up. The paint was peeling off in huge strips, and the yard was so overgrown with weeds it looked like a jungle. People always said it was haunted, but in our neighborhood, haunted could mean a lot of things, and most of them were a lot worse than ghosts. We were just kids, though. Curious, stupid kids. We pulled up on our bikes, the clicking of our chains echoing in the quiet street. We stopped right in front of the house, staring up at it. It looked even creepier up close. Stevie nudged me and pointed at one of the upstairs windows. "Look," he whispered. I followed his gaze. Behind a dirty, torn curtain, there was a face, just staring. It didn't move. It didn't blink. It was just there, a pale shape in the darkness. We both kind of laughed it off, a little nervously. We figured it had to be some old Halloween decoration. Or maybe some other kids had broken in and put it there as a prank to scare people. So, being the stupid 14-year-olds we were, we decided to go inside and get a closer look. The back door was unlocked, just slightly ajar. That really should have been the first giant screaming red flag for us to turn around and get out of there. But of course it wasn't. It just made it easier. Inside it was dark, and the air was thick. It smelled awful, a mix of old, rotting wood, dampness, and something else. Something I couldn't quite place at the time. We crept through the narrow hallway, our sneakers crunching on broken glass and debris scattered all over the floor. The moonlight filtering through the broken blinds barely lit the rooms, casting these long, creepy shadows that danced and shifted as we moved. We made our way into the main living room, and there it was, sitting on the windowsill, just like we'd seen from the street. That face, that head. Stevie, trying to act tough, dared me to go check it out. My heart was pounding, but I couldn't back down. I walked over to the window. I reached down and picked it up, and right away, something felt off. It was heavy, way too heavy to be some kind of plastic mannequin head. The texture, it didn't feel fake. It felt real. I slowly turned it over in my hands, and that's when I saw it. Thick, dark liquid started dripping from the bottom, running down onto the dusty wooden floor. The sound it made, that wet splat, still makes my stomach twist. It wasn't some Halloween prop. It was real. Before I could even process what I was holding, before I could even let out a scream, I heard it. A soft creak, then another. Floorboards right above us. Footsteps. Slow, deliberate footsteps, pacing in the room directly overhead. Stevie looked at me, eyes wide, frozen in straight-up fear. I looked back at him. We didn't say a thing. We just dropped everything and booked it. Out the back door, straight into the cold night air. We scrambled for our bikes, not even looking back, and we didn't stop pedaling, not for a second, until we were back on our own street, gasping for air under the relative safety of a flickering streetlight. We never talked about what we saw. We just couldn't. A few days later, the story hit the local paper. Turns out, the head belonged to a victim of gang violence, a warning from the Crips to another crew. It wasn't random. It was placed in that window for someone specific to find. But here's the part that still gives me chills. When the cops showed up, they found footprints, fresh ones, and not just ours. Whoever left that thing in the window was still inside the house while we were there, upstairs, listening the whole time. I don't go back to that neighborhood anymore. I moved away a long time ago. But sometimes, I still dream about that house, that window, and that face that never moved. You ever see something so creepy, so real, that it just sticks in your head? Yeah, this one did. It happened a couple of years back when I was living in this small college town. My apartment was walking distance from downtown, the spot with all the bars and late-night food. One weekday night, I was up late studying, chain-smoking outside on my porch. I had my textbook open, stretched out on the steps, just trying to stay awake. That's when I saw her. A girl I didn't know but recognized from the building next door. She was walking home alone from the bar. You could tell she'd had a few drinks, that kind of half-stumble, half-laugh walk. She got inside her apartment, closed the door, or tried to. Because right after that, some dude came out of nowhere and started knocking. I figured maybe it was a friend or a neighbor. But when she opened the door, I could tell from her face. She didn't know this guy. It was 2:30 in the freaking morning. Who the hell knocks on a random girl's door at 2:30 a.m.? He starts talking to her, introducing himself, acting all casual. And she's trying to be polite, but I could see her body language. Stiff, uncomfortable. They talked for 10 minutes. 10. And then he started doing these weird-ass things, like reaching out and brushing her hair, real slow, inching closer every time she'd take a step back. That's when I started getting loud, flipping pages, tapping my textbook, just so he knew someone was out there. After a few minutes, he just left. No goodbye, no nothing. Just turned and disappeared into the dark like he was never there. I went over, made sure she was okay. She was shaking but fine. We called the cops, just in case. A few days later, the cops came back. They wanted both of us to meet with a sketch artist. As soon as they released that sketch, calls started pouring in. Turns out that dude wasn't some random drunk guy. He was a serial predator, a guy who followed women home from bars and pretended to be a cab driver offering rides. This time, he didn't get the chance. She got lucky, because she lived close enough to walk. So yeah, if you ever think you're just being paranoid, remember, sometimes that feeling's the only thing keeping you safe. My grandpa once told me a story, one that still makes him shake when he talks about it. He said it happened on a quiet evening walk, the kind that starts calm, but ends with a reason to never walk alone again. He lives out on a small farm, a couple of hours from us. Peaceful, quiet, the kind of place where nothing ever happens. He and his wife, Mary Ann, share the place with their little Boston Terrier, Sherry, named after an old friend who passed away. Every morning, Mary Ann would take Sherry out for a walk. Every evening, it was his turn. Just another sunset, just another walk. Until that night. The sun was dipping behind the trees when he noticed another figure on the trail, a man in a big dark hood. Grandpa said,
"Evening."
But the man didn't respond, didn't even look at him, just kept walking. He thought nothing of it, until Sherry started growling. Every few steps, she'd stop, turn back, and start barking into the woods. Grandpa gave the leash a little tug.
"Come on, Sherry, cut it out."
But when he finally turned around, the man in the hood was standing halfway behind a tree watching him. He said his stomach dropped. He just started walking faster, hand already in his coat pocket where he kept his pepper spray. The sound of leaves crunching behind him grew closer. Then, a hand. A gloved hand clamped over his mouth and nose. He couldn't breathe, couldn't scream, just hear Sherry barking like crazy. He said he barely got his hand into his pocket, but when he did, he sprayed, once, twice, 10 times. The man let go, screaming and stumbling backward into the trees. Grandpa said he didn't even look back. He ran as fast as his legs would take him, straight for the porch light. Sherry right beside him, barking the whole way. When he got inside, Mary Ann said he looked pale as a ghost. He told her everything. They called the sheriff. The next morning, deputies found footprints and a dropped glove near the trail, but no one was ever caught. Grandpa still takes Sherry for walks every evening, but now he carries 2 cans of pepper spray, and he says one thing to everyone who visits. Dogs see what we don't, and sometimes that's a good thing. It was one of those nights where the rain never seemed to stop, the kind that makes the whole world feel smaller, trapped. I didn't think much of it until I heard the first bang on my window. It was late. My parents were in the living room watching some dumb comedy show. My sister was upstairs gaming, and I was half asleep watching TV in my room. Storms usually calm me. That night they didn't, because outside, through the sheets of rain, there was a man at my window. He was pounding hard on the glass. I couldn't see his face clearly. The rain distorted everything, but I could hear his voice.
Let me in, I'm hurt.
It sounded desperate, panicked. I cracked the window open just enough to shout.
Go around front.
Then I slammed it shut and ran to tell my dad. Seconds later, the pounding started again, this time at the front door, louder, closer. My dad rushed to the door ready to help, but something told me to stop him.
Wait,
I said. Then the phone rang. The caller ID showed our neighbor's name. My dad answered, and I'll never forget his face. He went pale and whispered, "No fucking way." He hung up and told us all, "Stay away from the door." No explanation, just fear. He peeked through the curtain, and there he was, a man crouched on the porch, drenched in rain, pounding on the door, holding a large, sharp axe. My dad shouted through the door, told him to leave before the cops got there. The man stopped pounding, then disappeared into the storm. When the police finally showed up, the neighbor told them he'd seen the same man earlier, rummaging through his shed, stealing that axe. They found him wandering the streets later that night. It even made the paper a few days after. Ever since that night, thunderstorms just don't feel the same. Somewhere out there, behind the sound of the rain, someone might still be knocking, hoping this time someone lets them in. If you like eerie, slow-burn horror stories like this one, don't forget to subscribe and hit that notification bell. Thank you for watching.